Maria, Lena, thank you both for being here and welcome to New Mexico in Focus.
Thank you for having us.
I'm going to start with you, Maria. You are the legal director for the American Civil Liberties Union of New Mexico. Obviously, there are some serious concerns about erosion of civil rights and liberties under a second Donald Trump term in the White House. I'm curious just how you've been feeling since Election Day, and how the folks in your circles have been feeling.
Sure. Thank you, Jeff. So I think there's a couple ways to answer that. One, as you know, just a person living in this community, an American, a person who really just wants our state, our country to succeed. So that part of me, not affiliated with the ACLU, has been very sad, angry, frustrated. I've honestly just felt somewhat betrayed by people that I thought would not choose this type of future for our country. And so it's been a really hard 2 weeks for me personally. As the legal director of the ACLU, you know, I hold that hat as well. We're a nonpartisan organization, obviously, but you know, we believe in people's constitutional rights and civil rights, and we've been fighting for them for 100 years now. In that role, I'm also fearful of what's to come. We know that the foundations upon which these institutions that we have relied on for so long are very fragile and close to just crumbling. And so we are, just trying to figure out a path forward. And I think we're also trying to be very clear-eyed about the future and what a new Trump administration means, and not trying to sugarcoat anything. We're all scared, but we are also ready to fight. And it's going to take more than just one organization or multiple organizations. It's going to take all of us, you know, in this state, in this community, to band together and protect one another in these really troubling, frightening times.
Lena, Maria mentioned fear and said the word scared a time or two. I'm hearing so much of that from people I speak to. You work on policy at the ACLU here. I'm curious, in that role and also just as a human being, what kind of strategies and actions are you employing to sort of hold away that kind of despair?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in line with what Maria is saying about this is really a moment for everyone to be coming together. We're all needed. And myself personally, in my personal life, and myself with my hat with the ACLU doing policy work, the respite, I think, so far has been in being in community, spending time with loved ones, spending time with friends, with our partner organizations, with the community advocates we work so closely with, and just being together. That has been just in these days the best strategy for myself to hold off some of that fear and despair, which is definitely heavy and definitely there, but being in community, whatever that looks like for you, whatever that looks like in your neighborhood, spending time with one another.
Gotcha. I'm going to stick with you for a minute. Obviously, you two have different jobs at the ACLU here in New Mexico. So I'll ask you both to sort of weigh in from that perspective. But Lena, you first. What are the maybe two biggest issues that have your attention right now as we think about what happens after Inauguration Day?
Absolutely. There's, boiling things down to two is tricky. There's a lot that we're looking at, of course. We're looking at some very clear threats that we have to take seriously and believe around mass deportations, tearing our families and communities apart, around further restricting access to reproductive health care, abortion care, gender-affirming care, health care that is so essential and important for our communities to thrive. We're looking at censorship threats. We're looking at threats of cutting off access to important information for our communities, for our young people in schools, what they're learning about. And so we're looking at a lot, but I'll also say that one thing we're really thinking about and looking at is privacy and how that cuts across all of these issues. New Mexicans we all deserve privacy. Everyone deserves privacy. Everyone deserves to feel that our personal information is protected and safe and isn't going to be used against us. And there's so much of our information that's out there, right? It's companies collect our information, the state collects our information, police collect our information, and that has to do with our physical locations, where we go, what services we're accessing, our health conditions. All of that can be and is actively collected on us and can be used against us, can be used to criminalize folks, can be used to harass people, to intimidate them, to spread disinformation. And so we're really looking at how we can best be keeping New Mexicans' personal information safe and private, so that it's not misused, whether by law enforcement, companies, or others who would use it against us.
Maria, like Lena mentioned, there is a laundry list, and we could spend an hour and a half at the table kind of going right down the list. But I'm curious, from your perspective, sort of legally or constitutionally, are there one or two things that are bubbling up to the top of the list as you think about what happens next year?
I mean, I think it's a lot of the same. I think the two things that obviously come to the top of the list, because this is what the Trump campaigned on, was mass deportations and restricting access to healthcare and abortion in particular. I think one bright spot that I would like to mention in all of this is we have state courts and we have a state constitution in this state that is more protective of our federal constitution, and we're really going to have to rely on that moving forward. We've talked a lot internally about proactive versus reactive work, and obviously we always want to be doing proactive work and expanding rights and making sure that, you know, people living in New Mexico, you know, can enjoy the utmost freedoms that we're able to get. But we're really having to kind of reposition ourselves and just be ready to react now. And so some of those proactive things and measures and work we were hoping to do are, just to be fully honest, like, you know, they're just going to have to be backburned, and we're going to have to react right now to what's to come. But we do, again, have our state courts, and there is an ability for our appellate courts to say, you know what, that's what the federal constitution says, but here in New Mexico, we are going to provide greater protections for people. So there's some hope for me in that respect.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's a good segue. We've got a few minutes left, and I want to talk about the idea of inoculation a little bit. We did see a significant Trumpward shift in the electorate in New Mexico this cycle, but our state still pretty overwhelmingly rejected his agenda. We've all seen news stories in which Governor Lujan Grisham has vowed to resist Trump, and State House Speaker Javier Martinez told Nash Jones over at KUNM that our state is Trump-proof. That was sort of the line that he used. So, Maria, I want to stick with you for a minute and just ask the question, is our state Trump-proof?
Well, I appreciate what Speaker Martinez was saying there, and I think, you know, to an extent, we have done a lot of great work in New Mexico to enshrine certain protections, and our, you know, the ACLU, along with lots of other organizations, have worked really hard to ensure that certain statutes are passed to protect greater protections for New Mexicans. But I wouldn't go so far as to say that we're Trump-proof, to be, again, not trying to sugarcoat anything. I think what we all need to do in this moment is be very honest about where we are. And so, you know, there's something called the Supremacy Clause in the federal Constitution that says, you know, if the federal government does something like a national abortion ban, that would supersede anything that a state could do, even enshrining abortion access in our state constitution. The federal statute would supersede that. So, you know, that in itself is not Trump-proof. But there are a lot of things we can continue to do locally to strengthen the protections that are already there, and we're grateful for those protections. And so I understand where the speaker was coming from on that, and I appreciate what he's saying, but I do think that we aren't Trump-proof.
Lena, I want to let you weigh in on that a little bit too, sort of from a policy perspective. How do you feel when you think about or hear the notion of a Trump-proof state? Is that a politician trying to make us feel better? Is that something else? Are we Trump-proof from your perspective?
Yeah, I think, again, in line with Maria, I think the speaker, I think he was pointing to are things that we should be really proud of in New Mexico, because New Mexico has consistently been ahead of the curve in the protections that we have been passing, and the strengthening of freedoms and civil liberties here at home. Whether that's been through shield protections for reproductive and gender-affirming healthcare providers and patients. We do have strong anti-discrimination protections here. We have our Civil Rights Act. We have some really amazing work that communities here have worked for decades to pass. And I do think that's something to be really proud of. And I do think that offers us some level of protection. And I think we absolutely need to build on those protections. And we have to be really clear-eyed, as we keep saying, that the threats that we're going to be facing at the federal level are very severe, and there are opportunities to shore up those protections that we already have, to build on them, to strengthen them. And we have to face the reality as well that as we have been ahead of the curve, we can continue to be ahead of the curve, and keep in mind the possibility that our state government could also look different down the line and in a couple of years. And we want to be sure that we are taking every possible measure and action now to prevent anything we possibly can.
The Civil Rights Act, the New Mexico Civil Rights Act, keeps coming up. I do actually have about a minute left. Maria, I want you to talk for a moment, please, about what that is and how that is different, and whether you expect to see more cases being filed under the CRA.
Absolutely. I cannot emphasize enough how important the New Mexico Civil Rights Act is. And so that's one of those examples where we are ahead of the curve. There's only a handful of states that have state civil rights acts. We have already, since its inception, started filing cases under it, even before we knew the results of this election. And it's going to be even more important now, because that means, we can stay in state court. I think it's pretty commonly known that the federal courts are not the greatest place to be for civil rights right now. And so that's why, again, it's so important that that our state courts continue to strengthen protections, civil liberties and civil rights for people in New Mexico. So yes, the Civil Rights Act is critical, and I think you're going to see more and more litigation under that statute.
I appreciate you explaining that and ending this segment on a little bit of a note of hope. That's all the time we've got for right now, but we'll be back in just a little bit to talk about some other specific issues.
Thank you.